Hello, my name is Melanie Brits, and for your viewing pleasure, entertainment, and education, I wanted to do an Akashic Records question and answer session as well as a remote viewing of the Halls of Amenti. So, the Halls of the Amenti is mentioned within this obscure document that is called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And Thoth is he was an Atlantean priest king, according to the document, and he founded a colony in ancient Egypt after Atlantis was destroyed. And then he also is, it's said that when the time came for him to leave Egypt, he erected the Great Pyramid over the entrance to the Great Halls of Amenti, placed it in his records, and appointed guards for his secrets from among the highest of his people. In later times, the descendants of these gods became the pyramid priests, by which Thoth was deified as the god of wisdom, the recorder by those in the age of darkness which followed his passing. In legend, the halls of Amenti became the underworld, the halls of the gods, where the soul passed to after death for judgment. And in later ages, the soul or ego of Thoth passed into the bodies of men in the manner described in the tablets, and as such, he incarnated 3 times, and his last incarnation being known as Hermes, the thrice born. And so that is where Hermeticism comes from, all of it. And so the halls of Amenti is this place that is mentioned in the tablets. And I wanted to open the Akashic records and then ask questions and investigate what I can find about it. So I hope you join me and you enjoy. I've already opened the record, so you don't need to watch the process and wait while I prepare myself and go through the prayer process in terms of actually accessing the Akashic records. But we are online and we can get right into it. So you'll see in most of the slides I have at the top there some quotes from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I'm not going to read all of them, but I did prepare some questions that I want to ask the guides or the keepers of the Akashic records about this space and about this legend. And what you also need to know is I mostly get information based on pictures. And then if I have to acknowledge the picture that they're sending me. And once I do that, I start getting information. It's almost like pulling a thread on a carpet. It sort of starts to unravel, and I get more information about what is going on. So the Halls of Amenti is described as this sort of hidden multidimensional space where enlightened beings or ancient wisdom or cosmic truths are stored. Some also say that the soul of Thoth still resides there, that there are guardians there, and there's all sorts of other legends in terms of that the Atlanteans and even Egyptians used the halls of Amenti in some sort of a life prolonging ritual. So, but the first question I want to ask my guides and whoever showed up in terms of answering our questions today is what do the halls look like? Are they an energetic construct? Are they a physical construct? Do they shift based on consciousness? What can you tell me about how the structure of the halls? What are they, and how do they sort of exist? If you can show me in pictures and give us some answers in terms of that, if they even exist, maybe they are just a legend. Okay, so the image that comes, it's almost like it's a ball of energy, and then there's strands of energy that goes places, that connects this space almost to places. And so how it feels like if I'm reading the energy and working with this almost symbolic, but it's almost like they're showing me the structure of it. Is this is a vibrational space, but it is connected. So there's these strands, like golden strands of energy, that connects it to certain places on Earth. And what I can see is that there's at least three of these strands that they're showing me. So it is connected to the Great Pyramid of Giza. There is a strand that connects it to that sort of space, physical space, but there are others on Earth. And I wonder, maybe they can, if I'm allowed, can you tell us if there are other places on Earth that is connected to this energetic vibrational space or ball of energy as well? Can you tell me where? One definitely feels like almost Mount Shasta, USA, that side, California. There's a link that's going there, and the other one is almost going north towards Europe. Let me take this. So going north towards Europe, the UK, that side. And so there's at least three places on Earth that is connected to this vibrational space that was created very intentionally. It's not a natural, there was some energy work or something that was done to actually create this space, looks like. And it is an energetic construct. It's not like there's a little pathway or a stairway that you can follow down from the pyramid to actually get there. It's a consciousness shift. You have to move your consciousness along the almost the strand of energy in order to access it. Interesting. Let's see. The next one is, can you tell me about the beings who guard or who inhabit the halls? Who resides there? Are there keepers, guardians, ascended masters? Is the soul of Thoth still there? What can you show me about who is actually there at the moment? It might have been different in days gone by, but at the moment, who is there? Okay, so they're just reminding me that time is not actually real. So my question is wrong because it's sort of an eternal moment that is there. Time is not a factor within the halls. It exists outside of time and space. It's connected to time and space, but it's not actually part of time and space. Okay. Who are the beings there? They show me almost like a barrier. Um, it feels as if because this, I don't know if it's actually souls that's actually keeping you out, but it is a almost like a vibrational barrier, feels like. So if you can't shift your consciousness through certain vibrational levels to actually be able to access it, then you will be barred or you won't be able to access it. So it almost is like a lock, but it is a vibrational lock that's there. So it's not like there's a god or a being standing there saying you can't come in. It's almost like a vibrational barrier type of thing. Okay, are there keepers? Like I know within the Akashic records, there are souls who are responsible, energies that are responsible for managing access. It definitely feels as if there are consciousness. Okay, so this is interesting. It feels as if the halls itself has a consciousness. I know, like it's aware, but then it almost draws to it, or appoints in a certain way guardians or keepers or protectors. And there's even almost like maintenance being done on the energetic structure. So there's enlightened beings or masters or whatever you would call it from maybe other places than Earth, because our vibration, I think, is too low when we are incarnated here. But high vibe beings who actually oversee almost the structure or the functioning of this space, who tend to it. The picture that I'm getting is almost like if you have a nuclear power station and there's the core reactor. If the reactor, the nuclear stuff, is aware and conscious, and it draws to it caretakers who take care of the space around. Okay. Is the soul of Thoth still there? Yes, they're showing me almost like a multidimensional soul, though. So almost a part or aspect of the soul is there, but other aspects of the soul is of doing other things. Interesting. Okay, so what is the purpose of the halls of Amenti? Is it just a repository of wisdom? Is it a place of soul initiation? Is it a place of transformation? How I know they used it in terms of almost prolonging life in a way in ages past. Is that still a thing? Okay, so it feels like people are not using it that way anymore. It's almost like the knowledge or the know-how of how to do that has been lost. It's almost like the wind scattered it. And so it's not being used in the same way anymore. And when people, there are people on earth that can actually access it, but it's more of, it doesn't take as active a role. So it is almost, it is a healing. There's knowledge, and healing that's available there, but it's difficult for us to access it now. Just, I don't know, because of earth changes, or yeah, something in terms of our vibration or the earth's vibration, or the linkages or whatever shifted, and so it's more difficult for us to use it now than it was, and so it's not being used in the same way. But there are definitely healing aspects to the energy, and then there's also sort of wisdom aspects to the energy. It's almost like it can act, it's an activator. So it's like there's a like the core of the nuclear reactor has a specific stable energy blueprint, and if you access the energy, it can entrain or give that blueprint to your energetic body consciousness in some way that is beneficial. That's the best way I can describe what they're showing me. Okay, so how do we enter the halls of Amenti? Is it a vibrational shift? Is it a physical one? Do you have to go into meditation? In the book of Thoth, he said that you have to say, I am the light, in me is no darkness. And I have experimented with these words before, and they have sort of made me able to access the energy. So there's definitely something there in terms of the light. So can you explain to me why that works as a key, and then how does one enter? Okay, so they're showing me the way that I access the Akashic records is I speak. That there's a vibrational key in a pathway prayer that I use. And the pathway prayer also sort of stipulates my intention in a way. I speak my intention out loud as I access the Akashic records. And these words that Thoth gives in the Emerald Tablet, I am the light, in me is no darkness, is it sort of acts the same way. It means that you're stating your intentions are for the light. It is, and so it's important to use the word light, or to claim the light if you want to access it. It also actually shifts your vibration in a way to attune you with the vibrational state of the records in some way. Um, does it need to be meditative? In a way, because you have to quiet your mind and get into a receptive channeling state. But I am not currently in a deep meditative state, and I access the record. So it's not really, it is a energetically aligned, open state rather than almost meditative. But there is a vibrational shift. It is not a physical location, but it does need a quiet mind and open and aligned energy centers, and so on. Interesting. Okay. Do the halls intersect with other sacred or mythical places like Atlantis, Shambhala, the Akashic records? How are they related? Okay. Please show me this. The halls of Amenti, and they almost superimposing the images. So the halls of Amenti and Shambhala almost feel like it's the same space. It's called by different names and accessed by different traditions, in different ways, but they're ultimately going into the same vibrational space. The Akashic records, this is almost like an offshoot of the Akashic records in a way. So the Akashic, if you, it's almost like the Akashic records is the main library, and then this is sort of uh, your local library that's been positioned particularly so that you can easily access it. You don't have to drive as far. But so the main library will have more stuff in it, and the local library will just have a selection of important stuff. Um, is it related to Atlantis in any way? They did manage to access this, and they got knowledge or some sort of know-how or expertise or even energy from there. And what they're showing me is almost there used to be another energy strand that connected Atlantis to the halls of Amenti, but that is dormant now because of what happened there. So it's almost like black. It's not a valid connection point anymore to this. Okay, do the halls serve as a cosmic library? What kind of knowledge or soul histories are preserved there? How can one access them? So, the Akashic records is like the big repository of all lives. And they're almost showing me like we each carry our own Akashic information, somewhere closer in within our energy bodies as well, just our personal stuff. Like a satchel of books that your soul carries around. But then this, it's almost like, it feels like, if there's specific information about civilizations or stuff, ancient wisdom of some of the lost civilizations of Earth that's kept there. It's like a regional library versus your own satchel of books versus the main library that has all the books, type of thing. So there is specific soul histories and not and stuff information there, but specifically linked to almost past civilizations and how they used the energy in a way. Okay, let's see. Are there specific keys or sigils that act as portals to the halls? Definitely, they're showing me almost Egyptian hieroglyphs. Like the Eye of Ra. That eye one is immediately popped up as an important one. I'm not sure why. It might even almost be mimicking, like it might be a map of the halls, the eye. I'll have to Google it afterwards, but there's something in terms of the structure of it, of that hieroglyph that looks like an eye, that is indicative of some sort of structure. It was like a map for them, for the ancient Egyptian civilization. Atlantis had others that's defunct. It almost looks like a circle with a cross, if I'm as I'm seeing it. There's others, they're not showing me, but it is every civilization develops their own sort of key towards it. And it is important to, oh, you know what? They're showing me the eye of that hieroglyph of the Egyptians that they used. And then they're showing me the dollar with the eye on the US dollar. There's an eye somewhere there, I think. That, let me see, I think I have one here. There we go. Oh yes, look. You see the little pyramid has got the little top there, and then inside there's an eye. That is linked to this place. It's one of the sigils or keys or something. So I think the reason why that is on the dollar, I believe, might have something to do with the Freemasons or Illuminati, or there's links to some of these ancient societies that sort of still keep some of this knowledge alive. And the eye is it's like an important link to that. It might also, because it links to that, I don't know, there's some sort of energy exchange that can happen between the dollar that features that key as well as this place. Then it's almost like it gets power from there in some way, which is very interesting. Okay. Are there light and dark forces? So are there opposing forces that exist in relation to Amenti? Is it like a protected realm? Are there entities that have attempted to control its knowledge? Yes, it feels like there's been battles waged um, that we know nothing about. I'm almost seeing those scenes, in Lord of the Rings, where you have Sauron's armies that, you look at the plains and it's just these dark forces that's sort of in ranks set up against. So there have been attempts, but because of the vibrational lock of the halls, they have been safe mostly, because the vibrational stuff is almost like a fail safe. So even if you manage to, what has happened is that people manage to access it and then have that knowledge, but then they misuse it, or they use it like putting that eye on the dollar for their own needs, but then they can't access the halls anymore in a way, because they themselves no longer can have the vibrational key to actually be able to go there. So they can only access it through these almost remote. It's like you have the this library, but there's internet portals, so you can still access it in a way remotely from your home computer, in a way, if you have the address, but you can't physically go there to go and get all the books and all the stuff. But you do have some limited access if you've got the keys. Interesting. Okay. If the halls are a space of divine wisdom, what insights or guidance do they hold for those of us seeking spiritual evolution today? Why would we want to go there? Why would we want to access them? It almost feels like the halls of Amenti is a very specialized thing. If you go there without really knowing what you're doing, you'll just sort of wander around. It might just being close in that space is activating your energy in some way. So it is beneficial. But unless you, I don't know, it's like there's levels of initiate. It's like there's initiates, and then there's a higher level adepts, and then there's masters, and then there's like these different levels of access. And so it's like a library card. So your library card, you can walk around the stacks and you can sort of hang around in the atmosphere of it, but you need to study, I don't know, or have some sort of initiation in order to be able to get into certain areas of it and to access certain books within it. And especially the core, where it's almost like a flower of life or something of this sort that's in there right in the middle, that is giving off this energy. And so we can access it, but our access will be limited to just sort of entry level stuff. However, it's almost like there is a pathway for us to reach higher levels, just like there used to be in the past. In the past, it was just easier because that knowledge was shared, and so people could follow other people's sort of roadmaps to attaining that levels. Whereas now we would have to go and hang out there and almost get information there in terms of our access levels being improved or upgraded as we hang out and access and explore the energy there. Okay, So the next step for me in terms of this is to actually close the records and then go and do a remote viewing of this location, which is the Great Pyramid of Giza, where there is a link apparently that you can follow. But because this video is getting a bit too long, I'm going to do it in a second separate video, and we'll do the remote viewing then. And what I want to encourage you is to grab a candle, some sort of a crystal, and a little piece of paper and pen, and then come with me and see if we can access it together and what we find. So I'll be back in a second video for the remote viewing part of our investigation.